All right, getting live in the studio on the podcast broadcast before we get back on the air and play some music from Korn. And Anthony, I saw your comment. That was funny. Technically, you can't say titties, but, every now and then.
Who's Anthony?
Anthony's one of our OG streamers who's on, here's this comment right there you see on the stream. So while I set up this live stream, they could comment before we even go live. So good morning, and then we'll have more people kind of build on as we proceed, because we usually go live at 9.
Anthony, you better show up to the Rialto Theater, man, on Saturday.
Yeah, he's been stoked, dude. And, I think a lot of people are. And for the next hour and a half, obviously, we're sell. We're going to have a lot of fun and, remind people, because, like I said the first time we talked to you, we don't get many great comedy shows in town. In Tucson, it's just not part of the circuit. The best comedy club we have here is Laughs, and they're not booking, right? It's not like a stand-up live or a Tempe Improv.
Tucson, man, y'all better come get some of this uncut, unfiltered comedy cocaine, baby. This uncut yayo. Chi-Chi, get the yayo.
And this with this homecoming, too, this is going to be good.
Well, because you brought up Laughs. Laughs is a sore spot for me because I did
sore spot for everyone.
Well, I did it. I did it once as they had me. I was already featuring, and I already had done some headlining shows. Yeah. And so they had me come out and host. And I did a spot, and I used a little bit of vulgarity, and dude, they cut my set right there, man. They gave me the light. I had to get off, and then they told me not to use any curse words the whole rest of the weekend.
A comedy club told you this?
Because I was the host. They didn't want the host using it, and it wasn't. It was in context in what I was saying. It was like we were talking about context when we were off the air. And they did it, and I mean it was a long time ago. I heard the Suns are running the place now. It's a little different, but this is when who was the guy who ran it?
I don't recall his name because honestly,
he passed though.
This entire run, the reputation has not been great.
Well,
and I have not,
but they never had, and honestly, I never sent in stuff. I never tried to get back there after that. I just had that bad experience and was like, you know what? I work a lot in Phoenix, and this before I was even on the road with Aries. I was like, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, well, the Phoenix scene has been blowing up, and you've been seeing this kind of as it grows because there's just multiple clubs now. With Stand Up Live, the Tempe Improv, and now Stand Up Live North, or what they have. So
the old CB Live.
Yeah, right. So I mean, the booker there has you kind of in rotation, right? How many times you come back to Phoenix?
I'm here every year.
Yeah, every year. At least.
And for the most part, I pretty much was doing Stand Up Live, and then I just got back into Tempe. Which is to say I did Tempe last year for the first time in a gazillion years. So I don't know how often I'll be rotating back and forth, but if for the most part, Stand Up Live has pretty much been my hub. Yeah. But it could be Tempe again, so I don't know.
I think it's the same owners, right? Same
owners, and I love both clubs. I do, and I even have a fondness. I'm not going to say it's more than for Stand Up Live. I love Tempe Improv.
Yeah.
But when I work with him, and I've worked with other people, and I've done both, and I loved Tempe Improv, but for him, I'm telling you, Stand Up Live is the right spot for you.
Yeah,
it just feels, it just works for you. That room just sets up for you better.
Yeah, I do like that setup in that room too. So, what do you think about the comedy clubs per se, like in Phoenix, compared to the rest of the nation, as far as green rooms, amenities, the room itself?
This is the podcast portion we're doing.
Yeah.
I was thinking last night, and at one point, Andy had to go drop off his son, and I was waiting for him to come back, but. At one point, I was having a drink, and then out of nowhere, my guts went, "You gotta take a shit, dude," and it was DEFCON 4. I was about to change the world with this one.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about this room, that I like about any comedy club green room, that besides the audience, the energy, their willingness to buy merch, is if they got a bathroom in the green room.
Yes.
Because I only use public bathrooms if it's an absolute emergency.
Don't play away games.
Yeah, but dude, I don't want to hear other people's butt noises, and the only shit that smells like roses is mine.
Yeah.
So when I know I'm gonna go pull a Thanos and eliminate half the universe, I don't want to be in a public bathroom.
Yeah, plus, and I'm sure the fans don't want to see their headliner.
And that's the other thing. If they see my Tim boots in the stall, they can go, "Yo, Aries just tried to kill me, man." So the Stand Up Live, the green room is great. It's got its own bathroom. I don't have to fuck with the public.
Yeah.
They have an area for selling merch, which is awesome.
Which is great. Copper Blue is right next door. I mean, it's everything is there. The hotel is literally a 30-second walk next door. So
yeah, you get done doing comedy, you can go get a drink next door.
Oh yeah,
you can. Oh, that's right. We're on the podcast.
We're about 12 seconds. We're gonna get on air.
You could get just stupid drunk, and then you could still just make it walk
over
to your.
It is an ideal setup. They knew what they were doing when they put it together. I remember when they built that up too. So Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We are live on the podcast. Broadcast started early. You can join us YouTube.com or streaming on Facebook. And we are joined by two hilarious comedians that are gonna. Well, Aries Spears is gonna be headlining the Rialto Theater on Saturday night, and we want to show out big for this. You recognize him from various things. Like I said, all over the internet. Mad TV was an introduction to a national audience, but you recognize young Aries way back, even Death Comedy Jam. Man's been a part of the game since before he could drive. Legitimately.
Did you bring the glove?
I didn't.
What's the glove?
I did. I made my Def Comedy Jam debut. I was such a, and still am. I'm like Eddie Murphy is my hero.
Yes.
So, I to not make it too obvious, I didn't come on stage with an entire leather suit, but I did wear some leather gloves.
Yes, I did see that.
A la Eddie Murphy, Raw, where he had the pinky ring outside of the leather glove. So I did wear some leather gloves, and I wore an all denim jean suit because that's how much of an Eddie Murphy fan I am, and he was my hero and my motivation to get into stand-up.
Now, black comics are notorious for, being able to roast and being able to pick apart something. And so did anyone call you out on the leather gloves?
Nah, because...
you were so young? No,
I don't even think that had anything to do with it because that fit the criteria of black swagger.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was doing something that was like, that's something we would really... do. No, that's something we'd exactly do.
It was Def Jam-esque.
Yeah. So if I had come out in some gaiters, I still would have been in tune.
Right,
yeah. So
now, I was always wildly fascinated of like kind of the behind the scenes of Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
Because, obviously it was such a huge cultural impact of the 90s. It was just massive. Russell Simmons put together.
I mean, it literally kicked open the door for black comedy mainstream.
Right, yeah, because it was a weekly, and you saw these like future headliners and already headliners, but headliners in different circuits, and it really hit a whole new audience. So did you see an impact almost immediately after your appearance of Death Comedy Jam to your bookings and your draw?
For me, it didn't feel like it because even though, look, I was the only comedian to ever be that young and do Def Comedy Jam. But I don't know that I killed it and made the kind of impact out of the gate the way Bernie Mac did on his second appearance with the famous, I ain't scared of you, and certain people like Eddie Griffin and, maybe, I'm trying to think of a name, the chick with the big, Adele Givens.
Yeah. The chick with the big, I got it.
The big,
you didn't want to throw hamburger in there?
So yeah, but shortly after, I think with some other things that I did, I finally started to catch steam and gain some momentum. But again, for what it was and what it did at that time, it just blasted the door open.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, you didn't really see black comedians on a major level. Like A&E at the Improv, they might show one brother here or there, but for the most part, that was white folk television.
Yeah.
There was never two black dudes on one show.
No. No.
One comedy show, one black dude.
So, and I always used to say,
quota.
I always used to say, prior to Def Jam, there was one, whoever the hottest comic in the country was, they allowed one per decade.
Yeah.
So you kind of had like what's my man? The Dick Gregory in the 60s.
Yes.
Richard Pryor in the 70s, Eddie Murphy in the 80s.
Right.
But then when Def Jam came along in the 90s, it was like, hey, America, we're out here.
Yeah.
We all exist in abundance. Pay attention to us. And that's what that did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when you were such a young man going backstage, Def Comedy Jam, the energy level there, was it chaotic? Obviously there was a lot of buzz. So, people lying around the block to get into this show.
Oh, yeah. It was insane.
Yeah. So you could feel that energy. So you felt like a rock star just, again, at 15.
And then when, they did the first Def Comedy Jam tour, That was Bill Bellamy, Adele Givens, Reggie McFadden, Bernie Mac, myself.
Yeah.
And we just did a bunch of cities. And I'd never experienced anything like that on a major level.
Yeah, was Bill Bellamy back in the 90s? Did women throw themselves at him like mad? Like, what was he? Yeah.
He was the Billy D. Williams, Denzel of comedy. He had that high top perm.
Yes.
He wore those suits. And I told Bill this. He, like Matt Rife, Bill was a pretty boy.
Yes.
And sometimes, the stereotype is, well, the prettier you are, the less funny you are. And I was like, listen, man, Bill and Matt Rife got that Oscar de la Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard thing.
Yes.
They pretty, but they got them hands, man. They got them comedic hands.
There's something inside them.
Yeah, the pretty boy thing is great, but don't get it twisted. Bill had them comedic hands, man.
I can just imagine as you're like coming up as you're becoming a man. You're not even like necessarily like, a full-blown adult, not 21 yet. And you're seeing somebody who's literally at a rock star level with the television exposure Bill Bellamy had, being a hilarious comedian, but literally being the face of MTV for, all those spring breaks and stuff. Right. So every single hot chick is literally lining up. And as a young man just getting into the dating game, you got to look at him like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, show me the ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, while we were doing the first Def Comedy Jam tour, I remember, and I'll never forget, because, again, I'm a kid, so anything that's major is times 10 for me.
Yes.
And I remember one of our first stops was in Atlantic City, and the guy who actually was the brain power and the battery behind Def Comedy Jam, Bob Sumner, he had knew my mother, because before Def Jam, we all worked in the same circuit throughout New York and New Jersey.
Yeah.
So he was like, we're going to do Atlantic City because Aries is on the tour. And we're going to be going from city to city. He's got to spend the night in hotels without you. Is that okay? And my mother gave him the blessing. And I got my first piece of booty in Atlantic City by a grown-ass woman.
Nice.
She committed a crime.
Yeah, she did.
She had sex with a minor. But I spent the night in an Atlantic City hotel room. I smashed this adult woman. Oh, boy. What a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
You feel like your set changed just like subconsciously, like the very next night?
No, it didn't affect my set, but it affected me.
Yeah.
Did she pack you a little lunch for the next day? Did she do anything?
Man, I got rid of that lunch and used that little baggie to, put my mayonnaise in.
That's Aries Spears, Andy Steinberg performing tomorrow night at the Rialto Theater. RialtoTheater.com. Get your tickets now. Pack it out and get your tickets before it sells out for tomorrow night's show. There's one show only. Again, RialtoTheater.com. We're going to hit the reset on the FM side, and then you guys are going to jump over to ESPN Radio to meet one of your namesakes, Justin Spears.
Oh.
Big fan. It's going to be like the Spears and Spears show for a little bit, and then we'll have you back on for the podcast broadcast and have a lot of fun. So I'm excited about it. So more with Aries Spears, Andy Steinberg. Coming up next on Beef Vegan Presents, and then we also have our Iron Chef, Kenneth Foy, coming in right after music from Blur. It's Rock 102.1 KFMA. Clear. All right. So that was the FM side. And so, okay. With that, yes, I'm going to set you over to ESPN. You're going to do about 20 minutes with them and then pop right back in, and then we'll continue to have the fun. It's going to be a good time. Let me just cue this up for everyone else here on the stream.
Rock 102.1 KFMA, Oro Valley, Tucson, an Arizona Lotus Corporation.
Gotcha.
Good job, computer.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine made a comment over Move Over Hawktua. I get the sense that you have a love-hate relationship with pop culture, or maybe you just enjoy confusing people. Olive gardening? Really? Oh. See, here's the interesting thing about this. It is kind of like, I think it actually goes through and watches these clips in real time, too. It finds your page and goes through it.
No, can it?
I think it might be, dude. It's giving out, Okay, no, I have that in the cover. Okay, what's your number 4?
I kind of want to skip ahead a little bit. There's one that has Dr. Dre, the Gin and Juice from Knife Fight.
Yes.
Cover on it. So it says Dr. Dre fanboy, the Gin and Juice, and the next episode post. You probably still think Dre's gonna drop Detox any day now, huh? Keep holding your breath.
Oh, really?
It's like, damn.
It said that?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's rough. And he's not releasing Detox.
Damn.
Even ChatGPT knows that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The salt.
Let's see. Say Uber right. Say that's what it said for that. To say subtle. Never heard of her. Your Instagram is like a person at the party who just can't resist throwing a hot take, even if nobody asked for it. Yeah. So, and went on to say the WTF factor. Each thumbnail is like a neon sign screaming, "Click me," but in a way that feels like you might regret it later. It's like the visual equivalent of a triple dog dare. Yeah. All right. What's another thing?
I have a screen cap of like some webcomic for a post I have a lot of stuff on.
Yeah.
But it says comic relief. That squirrel comic about failing, it's a bit too real, isn't it?
Oh, jeez.
Almost like it's your life story.
Oh, shut up,
Jesus
dude.
Christ.
Damn. See, like, ChatGPT.
What did I do to this computer, man?
I don't know, man, but this has been a lot nicer to me, man.
I was going to say, it's pretty brutal with you, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's
ruin his
see.
life.
So, like, this is as negative as I got from ChatGPT. He said, nostalgia trip. The Nine Inch Nails wasn't almost paid, or the Nine Inch Nails almost wasn't paid post that I made. Is your page sponsored by Back in My Day vibes? It's like you're trying to educate and confuse the youth at the same time. And you're right, ChatGPT. That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Spot on.
Yeah. You got another one here?
There's a gym one, obviously. It says, wannabe Fitspo. Flexing in that gym pic like you're the next Mr. Olympia, but if you don't fail caption gives away the real story. Still struggling with those dumbbells?
Wow. Yeah, that's...
Good Lord.
Oh, this one's pretty rough. Mixed messages from existential questions about the future of radio to a deep dive into your sauce packet addiction. Your content variety is wild. It's like binge watching random YouTube videos at 3 a.m. That's a compliment.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I love doing that.
Yeah, dude.
This is way nicer.
Yeah. Well, that's just my Instagram page.
I feel like I'm gonna be like at a bar and it's gonna like pop up on Google Maps for the computer to see like, oh, you drinking away your pain now? Did I make you cry?
You start getting DMs and you're like, oh, who's this from? Oh, ChatGPT is following me everywhere.
Oh, poor guy.
What about? Did it give you an overall aesthetic? Because it gave me an overall aesthetic.
Yeah. So it says overall, your grid is a chaotic mix of nostalgia, pop culture, and self-deprecating humor with a sprinkle of I'm too deep and philosophical. You're like an Instagram renaissance man, or at least that's what you want people to think.
Oh no!
Like, damn. Stab.
Emil, since you are non-biased in this, so I need you to weigh in on which aesthetic do you appreciate a little bit more. Here was mine. I'm sorry, let's try to read. It's as if you've taken every niche interest, meme, and hot take, thrown them into a blender, and poured them into your grid. Somehow, it works, but only if the goal is to keep your followers on their toes.
Oh, okay. Well, see, it's doing its job and it's telling you what you want to hear, and it's a bunch of good stuff, so you should feel positive about it.
I said roast me. I didn't say tell me the good things.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's hard. You're unroastable, son. That's a badass page.
The servers are like smoking right now because it's trying so hard to roast. You, on the other hand,
No sweat.
When the robots come up and start doing their
Chef
terminating thing, I
Foy.
would watch out because this one.
Speaking to that
obviously has it
microphone,
out for reach.
they're coming for you.
on it.
All right, what was your summary?
Are
Read your
you
summary.
a
Here
fan
we
of
go.
pole
That was it.
dancing
I read it already.
competitions?
Oh, that wasn't
Am
the
I a
overall
fan of
aesthetic?
pole dancing
Yeah, well,
competitions?
just the summary.
As long as I'm not
Okay, so
competing.
in summary for mine,
Well,
it
we
said
got the
your
National
Instagram
Pole Dancing
is a
competition
chaotic,
happening this
entertaining
weekend,
roller
and I have a
coaster
4-pack of
what the
tickets to
heck
give
did I
out
just
to
see?
lucky
Keep
caller
it
number
up.
10
It's
right now.
encouraging
600
you
KFMA,
to
605
keep going, dude. Did your ChatGPT tell you keep
I
going?
think my computer's a fat ass because it's like, oh, he goes to the gym. Good for him. Yeah.
So mine ended with keep it up. Did ChatGPT tell you to kill yourself?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Yet.
Well, there we
It
go.
just said, I will.
Whoa.
Damn.
Oh. So you can do that to yourself. So rate your ChatGPT or rate your Instagram page using ChatGPT by taking a screenshot of the homepage. Let's hit the reset. We got more coming up right around the corner. It's Rock 1 2x1 KFMA. KFMA, welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. Very excited to have a guest joining us via satellite. He is one of the owners of our newest Half Price Friday deal that we're going to have available at KFMA.com starting tomorrow, where you, for $25, you can get $50 gift certificate to the delicious Pasta La Vista. Now, I saw Pasta La Vista open up. Is it behind the Chevron right there on Tucson and Grant, right?
Yes, it is. Right behind the Chevron, Tucson Boulevard and Grant.
Yeah, so I've noticed this because I drive by there on my way to work, and even though it is behind a Chevron, it does catch your eye. And of course, the name, which is an homage, I'm assuming to the man, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It is.
Yeah. So I thought that was a clever name, clever pun. But on top of that, Pasta La Vista, if you go to their website, just by Googling Pasta La Vista, you'll see a sizzle reel of them putting together fantastic food.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah, the stromboli I was looking at was just mouth-watering. What all items do you have and offer and specialize in, Sean?
Well, specialty is we're probably the only place to Arizona, maybe even the United States, that makes lasagna to order, homemade, on the spot. You pick the ingredients, we'll make it.
Isn't that time-consuming?
Nope. We've got a process that we can get it done between 8 and 10 minutes, and it's a single serving, 1.5 pounds of lasagna. Any items that we have that are on our menu, you can put in there. If you want Alfredo sauce, marinara, bolognese, whatever we got, we'll put it in there and make it for you special.
No, let's keep talking about this. And it is Pasta La Vista, legitimately. So, that's the music behind there. Okay, so what are all the options that we have to customize our super lasagna, right?
You can do vegetables, different meats. You could have chicken and Alfredo, and you can have some onions and some mushrooms. Just in that alone is absolutely wonderful.
I know.
Anything you can think of that we have on our menu as an addition to a pizza or any of our...
We're back here. We're back on. Oh, well, I got on the FM before I should be on the FM. Here we go. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We're live on a podcast broadcast with two-time reigning, defending Iron Chef champion, making his way out of Dante's Fire on Tucson and Grant. We got the one, the only Chef Kenneth Foy. Bow, bow, bow.
Utah, make it 2.
Going for that 3-peat today. I know you were asking about that pole dance competition, but that's at the Burger Center. And shout out to Aaron for picking up my 4-pack of tickets for that. It's a big deal. We just learned this from Katrina, who owns Vertica Fitness, which is a pole dancing gym, right?
Gotcha.
Body positivity, the whole nine, right? And so, it builds up core strength. It's wildly fascinating and how good of a workout.
Some of my friends back east are really into it.
Right, yeah. And Vertica has been popping up all over the country, and it's right here from Tucson, right? It originated here. So it has this kind of hometown success story. Well, they're hosting the United States pole dancing championship or competition here. The winners will go on to the global competition. So it's like a legitimate sport. And the fact that we have it happening this weekend, that's going to be super fun. Of course, we have a lot of things happening this weekend. One of them is the Meet the Chefs event, which is going down this Sunday.
Like a bad plan to put the chefs and the pole dancing competitions on the same weekend.
No, it is a great idea. Are you kidding me?
There's vibes of Olympic Village all over this one.
I know. Well, I did say to all my listeners out there, but keep an eye out because we might have an influx of beautiful women in town.
Tucson's stacked with beautiful women.
I know.
We don't need any more.
No, we do. There's never too much, dude. Yeah, come on.
I got mine. You get
For
yours.
schlubs like us, I want all of them. No. Of course, this is a big deal for you. It's season. We're getting ready for.
Yeah, it's the latest this event's ever been. So it's gonna be fun.
Yes. Now, I mean, there are changes obviously this year because it's going to be at the TCC for Meet the Chefs.
Yep.
4 to 6, which still it's like a super Costco sample Sunday, right?
Yep.
That's going to be fun. I'll be out there with the whole crew, and we'll be intermixing with everybody.
Yep.
And then we're going to find out
We're being passive aggressive on our dish.
Yeah. Are you being passive aggressive on your dish?
We got our 2 secret ingredients from your win 1 and win 2 in our tasting dish.
Oh, yes. That's
Cherries
funny.
and peanut butter.
Yeah, that's funny, though. Yes. Because, again, now you've been lobbying for a center plate, secret ingredient here for the past couple of years. Considering you're the reigning defending, I think this is the year that they should at least kind of...
They did not listen to me last year, so I have zero, thoughts or hopes that they will listen to me this year.
Yeah, but that was only one time reigning defending. For the 3-peat, that's a whole other thing. And if you check out Chef Kenneth Foy on the podcast broadcast stream, you'll notice that glorious championship belt that he's rocking right now. Super shiny and fancy.
It's blingy.
Now you have your walkout song ready to go?
I want to see if we can make this one work. Remember, they only give me like 10 seconds or less.
Yeah.
So we just got to pick the right, and they'll cue it up anywhere.
You
But
know,
let him cook, I think, really sounds like a winner.
Let him cook. Well, let's find out, because you sent this to me, right?
Yep.
And this is Let Him Cook, right? This is the video that has it in there.
The song is an underlay of this video. So
Okay, all right. Let's hear what this theme song, this potential theme song, would be for Chef Kenneth Foy when he comes out to defend his two-time reigning championship for Iron Chef competition. We're gonna find out who his competitor is this Sunday. But let's hear this song.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook. Let him cook.
I like that.
Let him cook now. Let him cook.
Continues to play, because that builds up and it's just hits.
yeah,
Yeah, that's amped.
that hits right out of the gate. It says kind of what I want to do.
Yeah, you want to cook.
Yep.
Yeah. And that would actually strike fear in the hearts of your competitors.
Yeah. I'm
Which-
definitely doing the LeBron James cornstarch toss again this year.
Nice.
That was
yeah.
epic last year.
That was great. That was great. There is a level of showmanship for sure for Iron Chef, and that you bring that to the table, which is going to be good. This year, the Iron Chef's going to be at Desert Diamond Casino as far as the competition.
Yeah, the Diamond Center.
Yeah, the Diamond Center. That's just good, because that means we could still celebrate hitting the blackjack tables after your historic third win.
Yep.
If you get that. But we're going to find out who your competitor is going to be this Sunday. And the people who participate in Meet the Chefs, everyone that comes out to sample, their votes count this year. So that's important as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe so.
Really? It used to be just a judge's choice thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's way cooler.
yeah. So it's like you come out and, everyone's an amateur food critic, right?
Everybody knows everything.
Myself included,
Yeah.
right? Which you gave me this legendary line last year after you won. Where I went up to Chef Kenneth Foy after he won, and I was like, man, I didn't see that coming. I thought, Chef Devin, he had pretty nice looking dishes there, and you interrupted me and said, that's why I cook and you DJ.
It sounds like something I'd say.
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah.
Hey,
So,
pal.
no disrespect, man. No disrespect. And you're right. But, everybody has a palate, and, to get the people's choice vote, I think that counts a lot. And, so it's great for everybody to come out there, voice your opinion, taste all these wonderful offerings that all of our local chefs have to offer as they all compete to face off against this man and try to dethrone him. But it would mean a lot to you if you got the three-peat, correct?
It would mean the world to me. It's only happened once before in the event, so that's the top of the mountain.
Yeah. And, you haven't been slowing down in any of your culinary endeavors. You just hosted a whiskey pairing dinner at Dante's Fire.
Sick.
Yeah. So what was the main course for that?
The entree was a filet of New York with mushroom pate, baby vegetables, and a pomegranate molasses demi-glace.
Damn. Yeah,
and that wasn't even the best dish. The
Right.
lamb dish, we all went the open-faced ravioli lamb.
Yeah.
With the chicken truffle glace and artichoke puree was out of sight, dude.
Yeah, you're a madman. I love it.
I am pretty crazy.
Your next pairing is when?
It's the 22nd of next month.
And what's the theme?
The theme is awesome whiskey you can't get anywhere.
So whiskey pairing. So
Yeah.
so you're gonna
It's
get
the
whiskey
last of
with
our-
all this food.
We did a whiskey series this summer,
Yeah.
and the last is the third one is coming up on the 22nd of next month. 105 a plate, all inclusive.
Yeah. And that's whiskey and full on
Yeah, but
like
we're not
appetizers
talking.
to entree.
We're not talking Jim Beam here.
Right, yeah.
We're getting E.H. Taylor, we're getting Weller, we're getting Stag, we're getting
Yes.
Blanton's, we're getting Eagle Rare.
Yes.
So we're getting the stuff that you can't get.
Yes.
And we're pouring it right next to some of the best food you can have.
See, I love that. See, it just makes it as like an event and an experience.
It
And
is.
honestly, like a super culinary experience. So, DantesFire.com is where they could get tickets for that.
Go to the website, and we're pushing it on Eventbrite.
Okay.
So people are selling it, so we're getting the tickets ahead of time.
Nice, excellent. Yeah, and make sure you're following Dante's Fire on social media as well. Chef Kenneth Foy, I appreciate you taking the time with us. Good luck going into the Iron Chef to get that elusive three-peat, and I feel like you got that happening. So thank you so much, brother.
My pleasure, man.
All right, so Meet the Chef happening this Sunday at the TCC. Tickets available at KFMA.com. We're going to hit the reset on the FM side and continue our conversation with Aries Spears and Andy Steinberg right after this on Rock 102.1 KFMA. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Talking about good food, Aries. We got one of the best chefs in town right here, Kenneth Foy.
How you doing?
Yeah, he owns Dante's Fire on Grant, and he is the two-time reigning, defending Iron Chef champion here in Tucson. We're just talking about this whiskey pairing that he does, which he just did. Tell him the entrees again. This is like $100, right? And you're gonna get a bunch of like top quality whiskey. And then what was the food?
So the first course was anarchist broccoli and cheese soup. Second course was tuna crudo with foie gras. Third course was the open-faced lamb ravioli. Fourth course was New York strip, and dessert was coffee mousse.
Yeah. For just $100, you get all that with a bunch of good whiskey. Like that's some shit right there. Yes.
Who's been drinking Coronas in here?
Oh yeah, that was the rock stars earlier this week. Non-alcoholic too. I didn't tell him. Didn't have the heart to tell him. All right, Chef Ken, I appreciate you, brother. I will see you Sunday. All right. Hell yeah, you do. And you know what's great about them? If you're hungry after a Rialto and you don't want to just do like a drive-through burrito, then Dante's Fire is open late. They have the East Coast mentality, the way they run their restaurant. So they're like when WWE came to town and Vince McMahon would want to get a steak after a WWE show, he'd go to Dante's Fire. How was your experience on ESPN Radio? Justin Spears take care of you?
It was good, man. It was good.
Yeah. He was geeking out, dude. He not only was, he a fan, but then also he has a special kinship just because you guys have the same last name. He's just like, are you my dad, man? I don't know if he knows his dad. So.
Could be.
I didn't mean to more you. I wasn't mooring you, but yeah. All right, yeah. All right, we're going to get on here on the FM side here in about like 10 minutes as we continue. I have this wild idea, right? Because I put together a list of all the impressions that you're, known for. Let's say if I had like a celebrity roundtable, and this is almost like a training for me, right?
Yeah.
Like if you could help me out. Say I have not necessarily got to interview some of these A-list celebrities that you can impersonate. So let's say we do.
Before we do, let me just say I don't, I definitely don't want to let you down, but I don't know if my voice is up to par to do everybody.
Yeah, you don't have to do everybody.
Yeah, okay,
yeah. So with this list, like say I asked hypotheticals to like Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy might be tough because that's a higher rank.
Let's skip Eddie.
Yeah. So anything that has like a higher octave, you want to kind of avoid.
Who do you have on the list?
Well, obviously I got Shaquille.
Uh-huh.
All right. I got Jay-Z. Denzel, of course, you're Pacino. So I basically did the top 5 of.
Let's do Shaq, Tony Soprano.
Okay.
Bill Cosby, and maybe DMX.
I like it.
Yeah,
and I have questions for all of them. So these are like, so if I was basically had them in studio and DMX came back, and had to ask him some questions, you answer in character.
Yeah,
and that'll be a fun radio bit. Arizona has ties to DMX. DMX.
Yes, I remember he had that reality show on, I think it was BT.
Yeah.
And he would always ride his 4-wheelers.
Yeah, he was up in Cave Creek, right? And so he bought a plot of land out there. And then during that time, it was actually a dark part of his life because he was like getting like spun out and then just like shooting guns, riding quads in the desert in Cave Creek. He did that for
what other way is there to live, man?
that's what he did after, like, at his peak. He like stepped away from his career just to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna just get high in the desert for a couple years.
Shoot some guns.
He had his own motorcycle group too. I call it group instead of gang. But
Thank you, white man.
he had a bunch of colleagues that all rode a bike.
There you go. Keep it nice.
But they didn't ride like. They didn't ride Harleys. They rode sport bikes, right?
Yeah, like quads. And so he, and they're awesome, obviously. Like the Razors, and that is the area to have all those toys.
Yeah.
And it was always kind of fascinating that, obviously he grew up in New York and the whole rat race of New York. And then to be at like kind of the peak of his career, to, get distracted with getting all the boy toy or all the toys that a grown man would get, and then just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this for a while.
Sheriff Joe got in his way a little bit.
Yeah, no, and once you get caught up in that system too, and that's why he was like, fuck it, he had to get out of Arizona.
Yeah, because
once they get their hooks in you, they don't let go. You know, especially during that regime. I spent time in Tent City. I was, I went to jail when I was 18. I was arrested when I was 17 with an ounce of weed, right? Yeah. They waited till I was 18, charged me for a felony, and then threw me in Tent City, which is like a legendary, jail because it was just tents outside in Arizona.
Wow.
And the first summer that I spent in there was like the best diet ever. Dude, I lost so much weight.
Ostrich? You're eating a lot of ostrich?
A lot of ostrich, which tastes like shit. You could smell the ostrich.
That's real?
Yeah, that's real.
Because they have an ostrich farm out there, so they started donating ostrich meat.
Yeah.
And that's what they were...
What does that taste like?
There's an aftertaste that doesn't go away for a while. It's kind of like... it's not even skunky, but it's not good. It does have like an aroma, a stench to it that you're just like, this isn't going to taste good, and it doesn't. And then it doesn't leave your tongue for a while.
It's
really?
Like, yeah. Are we on the podcast?
We're on the podcast.
It's like eating ass.
Really?
Yeah. It's something you have to do.
Yes.
But
it stays with you.
It stays with
you. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. It's so like that. Yeah. And less protein than eating ass too. So it was.
But it tastes nothing like chicken.
No. It's so weird too because again, it was the aftertaste that was the biggest bother. Because you force some shit down, especially when you're in jail if you're hungry. But
see,
you don't have to linger.
Yeah, that's really eating ass right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's side story. Yeah. Holy shit. But yeah, I don't know if they still do that, which I would hope not. But that was during the Sheriff Joe regime.
No, they don't. Yeah. That ended after Sheriff Joe, and they got rid of the pink boxers too, didn't they?
Yeah, no one mind that. Yeah, honestly.
But you know what his theory was on that? He demean you a little bit, make you feel less manly.
Yeah,
but then he started selling them.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, everyone in there, the mentality of it was you're still wearing stripes on the outside, right? Which is pretty hardcore, and obviously. You just look like old school prisoner. But the boxers, since everybody has pink socks and pink boxers, nobody's like, look at you, fucking freak. Right. Nobody gives a shit. And but yeah, it was all these little mind tricks. The hardest part about Tent City in the summer, well, it was the elements, obviously. But there was one weekend. Because I kept going back and forth. I was at the peak of fucking up, right? So I'd get out of jail, I'd mess up, get back in. I was kind of in the system for a good 3 years post adulthood. It was one weekend. It was like 120 degrees out, right? I got top bunk inside the tents, and the fan's not working. And so I pass out, and I'm sweating so much that my hand is hanging over the bunk, and the guy underneath me wanted to beat my ass because I was annoying him because my sweat was dropping into a pool of my own sweat going bloop, 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 and that was bugging him. And then so he woke me up saying, if you don't stop splashing, I'm going to kick your ass. Like, fuck you, switch with me, bro. I'm dying. And I was literally splashing around my own sweat. But I will say this. Again, I'm a silver lining kind of guy. I lost a lot of weight. I was looking good. That was like fuckboy summer for me. After I would do my weekend in Tent City, come out like 15 pounds lighter.
Fuckboy in prison.
That's true.
Or jail in the same sentence.
That's true. But I mean, I did. I was peaking after that. I was coming out to girls were like, "You're looking good. What are you doing?" Like, just came out Tent City for a weekend.
There you go.
Tent City diet.
Yeah, Tent City diet works every time. Yeah.
Nothing like those rubber mats that you're sleeping on.
Oh man, brutal. Do you ever spend any time in Tent City?
I didn't spend any time in Tent City.
Yeah.
I spent time other places.
Yeah. What about you? You ever been arrested for anything?
I've been arrested, but nothing hardcore, man.
Yeah.
I commit Huxtable crimes. I get a talking to from Dad.
Yeah.
And I get to go back to my room.
Yeah, that's good. I would say the same too, and it was definitely a learning lesson, but to go through all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody, this is one of the things with Tucson. This is why I talk so much about. I don't want to say talk shit about Tucson, but just stuff happens out here.
Yes,
it's all weed related, man, and all the stuff that we got in trouble for is legal now.
I know, it pisses me off.
And so I feel like I should be thought of like one of the Kennedys.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
because we had to work hard to get everybody these rights.
I know. They supposedly did some kind of thing where they were going to offer grants to people who were negatively affected by the marijuana laws here in the state to kind of fast track them to get into the dispensary business. It didn't work out for me, but it literally, put me as a felon for the first 10 years of my adult life. To overcome that was damn near impossible. It was a difficult journey, all for an ounce of weed when I was 17.
Yeah,
so.
and they did it just the way that you talked about it. They did it purposely to be able to do that to you. Because if they would have charged you as a minor when they should have, it would have been sealed up record.
Absolutely, we did nothing. That was my birthday present. I'm like, fuck you guys. And so I'm owed a dispensary. Now I'm seeing all these weed dealers, driving around in Cybertrucks and shit. I'm like, fuck. Man.
We did that. We did that for you.
Yeah, exactly. You did it before, it was
out where in Jersey and New York. That's what they're supposed to be doing. If you have an offense, that they fast track you for.
And that's good, but it's still difficult. There's so many people that they did it to. They can't necessarily give everyone that, and it's like a lottery system.
Yeah, we really brought this podcast up. We made it feel good.
I know. Well, when did you move out to Jersey? And did you do it so you could link up more and do the podcast together? Because you're living out in Jersey as well, right?
No, I'm in L.A.
He wanted me to come into L.A.
So what made you go to Jersey?
I hate L.A.
Okay.
I shouldn't say I hate LA. I hate the driving in LA.
Yeah.
I could not do that. This is one of the reasons I hate Tucson so much.
Yeah. It is the worst.
Speedway, 4 lanes, 35 miles an hour. Get the fuck out of here. What are we talking? And then the Tucson tandems. I really can't stand this. As I'm talking right now, this anxiety comes over me.
Yeah.
And my mom still lives out here, and she lives on the east side. So I deal with the Tucson tandems on 35 miles an hour. Well, let me rephrase that: 29 miles to 36 miles an hour, whatever it is to keep you behind them.
Right.
I do that all the way from when I get off the freeway all the way to like Houghton area where she lives, and it's miserable. So I hate it.
And people learn this the hard way when they come to town and move to town, because they'll get a house based off the mileage, or like how many miles away. Right, from their work, right? Oh, it's only 3 miles away from my work. Not a problem. And be like, no, that took you 45 minutes to take that 3 miles. Like,
let's use River Road during after 3:50 in the afternoon. You're not going anywhere.
No, I know.
So yeah, I have my issues with this place. I moved out there actually because I was in Phoenix. My boys had graduated from high school. My youngest one had graduated from high school. My 2 boys got their own apartment together and go, Dad, it's time for you to go do whatever it is that you're going to do with this comedy. Because I wasn't leaving until they got
right. Yeah, and handling your business, which is good.
And my girl who now is my wife, she had already moved back to Jersey because that's where she was from, and we were doing long distance until I could come out there. And I moved out. We got a place in Hoboken, which is right across from New York, and that's what I was gonna come out there to work with Aries on the road, but go to New York, become a New York comic, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And we were locked up then in out there for about a year.
Yeah, that's the timing, right? Well, let's get on the air here in about 12 seconds. Now, with that, with the pandemic finally, obviously the restrictions lifted, are you starting to do the circuit and scene sometimes now?
We're on the road so much. Aries, honestly, I'll just take a second to say this. Aries is one of the hardest working guys in this comedy game.
Yep.
And I was fortunate enough to get on the road with Aries. He keeps me very, very busy. As an opener, I'm very lucky. He gives me time. He never tells me what I can do or what I can't do. There's some jokes that he prefers over others, and I like testing that boundary sometimes. But been great to me. And so going to New York is something I want to do. But when I'm only home for 2.5 days out of the week,
right,
I'm not running over to the city.
Yeah, that's a Tucson native, Andy Steinberg, who is going to be opening up for Aries Spears at the Rialto Theater this Saturday and we got Aries in studio as well. We're live here on Rock 102.1 KFMA. And coming up next, Aries didn't come alone. He brought an A-list entourage with him, and got an opportunity to kind of go through the boot camp and ask some celebrities some burning questions I've been meaning to do. And we'll do that after new music from The Offspring. But we're keeping the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. If you want to join us, youtube.com/beefvegan. This song is called Make It All Right. Rock 102.1 KFMA. So I didn't even know we're on there, huh? See? Like, woo! Go in and out. I know the fact that you guys are on the road so much, and then it means you could link up and do the podcast. Initially I was just like, you're on the other side of the country, so either you link up remotely, but yeah, you guys are. I mean, is it like 50 weeks out of the year that you're hitting weekends?
Yeah. Pretty much,
Yeah. So, I mean, do you take vacations, or you just consider the days in between?
It's depending on the city.
Yeah.
The place I'm at, that could be the vacation.
Right, I know. You're doing paid vacations everywhere you go.
Yeah. We got in November coming up. First time I've performed there before, but we got Honolulu coming up. So, that's Hawaii, man.
Yeah.
So that's the vacation.
Do you get a couple extra days when you do Hawaii then?
If I go in maybe a couple days early before the show, then that's kind of like my time.
Yeah.
But if not, then even if I'm there a night, it's still Hawaii.
Yeah. You're right.
So, when I'm in Iowa, I'm working.
Yeah.
When I'm in Hawaii, I'm on vacation.
And he loves diners, drive-ins, and dives. He loves the show. So when we're in a place that he likes, we try to hit up some of the restaurants that are on the show. He has a checklist of all the ones we
I've probably been about 40 spots now.
Yeah. That's been on the TV show. Yeah, nice. What's been your favorite?
There's a place called HDR in San Francisco.
Okay.
I forget what they make. It's like
it's a pork katsu.
Yeah, that's just phenomenal.
It's more almost like a quick service place. But some of these places just have great food. We went to that Chinese restaurant that we went to in Portland. I forgot the name of it, but we went there once, and you go. And then you looked it up again, and you forgot you had been there. You didn't check it off your list, and you went back again the other. It's the best beef and broccoli I've ever had in my whole life.
Right, and that's a place where you just kind of go up to the window. And
this place is one lady works there, and you sit at your table, and don't mess with her because she lets you know exactly what time it is. You're going to get it now or not.
Kind of like the soup Nazi from Seinfeld.
It's kind of like that. Yeah. But I ate at this place. Is it June's Chinese restaurant here, and I think it's on like Fort Low or something like that. That place was great, man.
Yeah.
Out here, like I said, love the food out here.
Yeah, they surprised you with the food on here. There's some of the best food I've ever had. Some of the best breakfast. It's a good breakfast town for sure. Like I said, birria is a big thing. There's a taco spot, Taco Absinthe. You ever been to Taco Absinthe? So the Taco Absinthe has been around since like 1950s, right? And the original location on the south side, same grill. And that they grill the meat on, and so it's smoky and
Tucson or South Tucson?
South Tucson.
Okay.
Like South 12th. Okay. And their absinthe taco, with their namesake, is I equated to like the Philly cheesesteak of tacos, right? So you got carne asada, bacon, cheese, a green chili, sautéed onions, and mushrooms. That's the taco. And then the carne asada is like, again, it's smoky because it's on this like mesquite grill that they do every single day. 10 out of 10, dude. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of food. We're back on the air. It's Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. I'm kind of going to go through celebrity interview boot camp because, I'm always trying to, learn. Your Uncle Beef is rough around the edges sometimes when it comes to celebrity interviews. Luckily, Aries Spears, who's performing tomorrow night at Rialto Theater, brought a lot of celebrity friends with them, which is insane, right? Like Bill Cosby. There's always questions I wanted to ask Bill Cosby. And some of them not even invasive, right? So, like, Mr. Cosby, thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. You see.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Cosby, what's the key to making people laugh across multiple generations?
Well, coming from Philly, doing what I do, you've always been a storyteller, me and my brother Russell. Coming up and, always tell the truth. You see, you've got to tell the truth because when you tell the truth, there's no lies and everything turns out the way it's supposed to turn out.
Well, those are wise words. And how you enjoying your freedom and retirement, your second retirement?
I'm enjoying it very much. Every now and then I have some ladies come by the place, and I make special cocktails, especially for the senoritas and the Hispanic women. I have a drink I make called the penis colada.
Oh, the penis colada?
Yes.
Oh, that sounds like a strong drink.
Oh, it's very strong. It's very stiff.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Cosby.
I appreciate that. I would love to come by next time and see more of the ladies who work here in the building and give them a special cocktail emphasis on the first word.
Yeah, he didn't see him because I did give him a heads up that you would be here this morning. But I do appreciate you swinging by. Shaquille O'Neal's in the building. That's amazing. Good morning, Shaq, dude. You're a large man. I got a quick random question for you, Shaq. If you could only play basketball with a beach ball from now on, how would that change your game?
It'd be much easier for me to make a free throw. Because it's a beach ball, it's a much bigger ball, it's a much bigger target. It'd be easier to make free throws.
Yeah, so your free throw percentage would go up through the roof?
Absolutely. I have as many free throws as I do commercials.
That is a lot of commercials, you know. In fact, actually, you're putting a lot of people out of work there, taking up all of the endorsements and stuff. But.
I got Ice Yacht. I got, 5 guys. I got, the insurance company. I got everything. I run everything.
Yeah, and you don't have to answer this, Shaq, but I'm just wildly impressed with your your history of ex-girlfriends. They're always at like 5 feet tall. It just seems like physically impossible.
Well, they happen to be the same size as my penis.
Yeah, I know. So, the fact that you're just not like a serial killer, just murdering chicks across the country is amazing. And
I got more bodies than Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes, you do. We have iconic hip hop artist turned CEO, just boss in general, Jay-Z in the building. Good morning, Jay-Z.
Hov in the building right now. It's Young Hov.
We're
going to skip Jay-Z. Go to DMX.
Okay, DMX is in the building, back from the dead. Welcome.
Uh-huh.
Yes. We miss you, DMX. And, we know that we kind of claim you. Arizona claims you as our own. So
I love Arizona. It was good to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good to me, my dogs, Boomer, my guys, my colleagues. Yeah.
Now, you lived in the desert for quite some time. What were some of the fun things you'd like to do while living in the desert?
I love, everybody knows I got the guns. I like to shoot guns. I like to go to funerals. I like to dig up the bodies and shoot them and kill them again.
Those are always good times, too. Now, if you were to make a mixtape with anyone that you're hanging out with on the other side, who would you make a mixtape with, and what would you call it?
I'd probably do it with Biggie, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know about the name, but it'd be a good mixtape, you know what I mean?
Oh, it'd be a fantastic mixtape. Yeah. Bringing it back for New York.
You know what I'm saying? Got the New York Yonkers, all my boys, all my dogs, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you doing, you and Biggie doing in the afterlife now?
Same thing we was doing in the real life, smoking weed.
Yeah.
Getting drunk, hitting hoes, you know what I mean? Nothing changes.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's heaven or earth. You're going to do what you're going to do, you know what I mean?
That sounds like heaven, actually.
It's always been heaven, you know what I mean? I grew up in hell, so heaven's good.
Absolutely. And you deserve heaven, my friend.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, DMX.
Uh-huh.
Look at that. We just got a couple celebrities popping in this little Tucson station. It's a big deal. We got more with comedian Aries Spears and Andy Steinberg coming up next after music for Nirvana, keeping the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. Don't forget, tomorrow night, it's a one-night-only comedy event at Rialto Theater, rialtotheater.com. Get your tickets now before they sell out. Back with more right after this. It's Rock 102.1 KFMA. Excellent. See?
There we go.
Yeah. And then mid Jay-Z, you're like, I'm not feeling the Jay-Z. I can't do it. It's so interesting that, it is like singing and impersonations, you know. So have you been doing like vocal warm-ups before you do like an hour set?
Nah, because by the time I'm ready to perform, I've gotten a chance to kind of
loosen
just
up,
rest and chill all day.
I know, but that's it's a night game,
Yeah.
So, and I do appreciate because doing media in the morning is definitely part of the game as well, and that's a difference between like I saw a local comedian post on Facebook this morning actually, and he's just like, what comedian does morning radio anymore? And I'm like, well, the ones that sell tickets, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, but since the pandemic, everything had kind of either switched to Zoom, or they all together just stopped bringing in guests. So that kind of killed a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
But certain places are slowly getting back around to doing that again.
But that interaction is what you need. You don't get that same vibe over Zoom.
Yeah, it can be difficult on the Zoom. We're getting used to it, and then of course, we had Aries on for 2 weeks, just waking him up and be like, "Come on, let's just hang for an hour." And I appreciate Monique for setting that up. With that, the technology does make it kind of easier. Where it's like, oh, okay, now you're a part of the show, and it's more personal than a phoner, right? And doing a phone interview, and then of course. The name of the game is content and repurposing and putting it online like you guys do with your podcast and your clips. Do you guys use like to do your clips? Do you use like some like Opus clips or anything like that? Or are you going through and editing up all your shorts yourself?
We have this program called this dude in London named Anthony.
Oh, you got a dude in London, huh? Yeah.
and he does all that.
Yeah.
That's good though. Yeah.
It's
time consuming though. It really is.
Which is why I don't do it.
Yeah.
I hire people to do it. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm 59 years old. He's 49 years old.
Yeah.
We're not the most technical savvy person.
Yeah, dude, I'm so bad at all of this. Honestly, I wish we didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I know that, you know, we've advanced in technology but you know, I come from the 80s, man. I kind of miss a little bit of the old school, you know.
Listening to the record, hearing that, yes. So you don't have to see the visual aspect of it. Yeah.
You know, I know this thing is supposed to make our lives more convenient. In certain ways, it does.
Yeah.
But in other words, I miss anonymity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not being out there so much.
Right.
Do you know who Matt Fultron is? To the Full Charge, he has the Full Charge Power Hour.
Oh,
He's a comedian, and I love this dude. So funny. But he said the other day about social media, everything he did. He goes, "I got into comedy so I wouldn't have to have a job. Now I'm sitting in front of a desk 8 hours a day."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Why did I get into comedy if I was going to be sitting in a desk in the first place?" But that's you know, that's the genesis of this. It's turned into this other entity.
100%. Yeah, it really has been. And honestly, as we continue for radio itself as the industry, you know, like it's ever evolving and, you know, obviously fighting against all this on-demand content, then you just have to be multimedia content provider, basically, or content creator is the title of this job as it's kind of evolved into that. And so, yeah, that's what it is. It's do a 4-hour live show, then record an hour podcast, then go through, try to find the little snippets and clips for that ADD audience to market them, hit them, and then bring them back in and the whole thing.
Well, this whole new social media, the way that we live, the way that we on our phone, our social distancing that we're out of because COVID is changed.
Yeah.
But if you really realize how removed we are from other individuals, it's one of the reasons why we can't have conversations anymore, because you either agree with me or you don't, because there isn't any give and take in conversations anymore.
Yeah.
And it's obvious because I travel all the time. Aries travels all the time. When you're at the airport, I see people doing shit that they would never have ever done before in public because they're not used to being in public the same way anymore.
Really? Like what? Just
I saw a dude. I went to go sit down in a chair and someone had clipped their toenails and at the airport and left the toenails. I put it. It's on my Instagram. It's the picture of it. And I sat down.
Was this a Newark airport?
No, this was in like a small town that we were not small town, like a regular. It wasn't New York or LA. It was and it was just the city. And I sat down and there's toenail clippings there. I'm like, who clips their nails in public in front of everyone?
Right.
And people just do things that they would normally not have ever done before, but we're not socialized the same way.
Right.
We forget that we're not at home by ourselves. There's more nose picking going on right now than there's ever been in public, in the wild.
And you know what's so stupid about that is that immediately I thought, oh, that's a TikTok page. Nose picking in the wild. There you go. There's a couple $1,000s a month extra income.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. I mean, because it's happened, and it's not like, you know, it's not a dainty, like I'm going to use my pinky and just get this on the edge. We're talking fist deep into the nose trying to. I don't understand. People are not socialized. It's changed, and the kids that grew up in this. They're just going to grow up in this their whole life. It's not like it's a step backwards.
Right.
It's their only path forward. That's how they've lived. So I don't enjoy this. We're at comedy shows, more people, and you see it on the clips, more people talk in the audience, more people want to give their opinion.
You've been noticing that, huh? A lot of, not even like hecklers, but basically the people just like speaking out during shows to kind of like make it about them.
I don't necessarily deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that, and purposely so, I kind of come out with a little bit of a Ice Cube scowl on my face.
Yeah.
Come out. You do the whole show with that Ice Cube scowl.
You know, I don't do what comics do traditionally, which is come to the comedy club and hide out in the green room until they're announced.
Yeah.
You know, I like to make my presence felt early. You know, so I'm walking around the room. I'm letting people see me as I'm seeing them. Because, you know, I want you to kind of know I'm not to be. We're on the podcast side.
Yeah, we're on the podcast side.
I'm not to be fucked with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I give off an intimidation factor, it's for a reason. Because if you want to go ahead and yell some shit out, we gonna dance.
Yeah, so you're walking around sizing people up ahead of time. Like,
and I
you
want
gonna
him
be a problem?
I want him to see me sizing them up.
That's exactly what he does.
That's funny.
And when he stalks the room, he'll walk around the room and it looks like he's looking for who's going to die tonight.
Like, I better see you laughing. Don't you talk back. Yeah. I know exactly where you're sitting. That's funny. You're gonna like the room of Rialto. Now you've been to the Rialto many times, right?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Never. I've never
Oh, wow.
never seen. When I was here in Tucson, for the most part, it was Club Congress had everything.
Yeah.
It was Congress Hotel. Club Congress had it had the Friday, Saturday night, and then it would have the shows. So Rialto came up more after that. Because I went to Phoenix. I went to Phoenix and lived up there for more than I.
Yeah, when did you move up to Phoenix? Like 2006 or no, 90s?
Yeah, 92,
Okay.
93. So
I
was gone. I was gone when all that other part happened.
Yeah.
And I come back, regularly to see my mom, but I don't go out because I'm there to see my mom, and then I want to get out as soon as I can.
Yeah, yeah, you visit, but you're planning an exit strategy before you even get to town. But yeah, you're gonna like the Rialto. It's historic. It's the theater itself looks nice. And the green room and everything. There's
Was it
some
like
bathrooms.
downtown?
It is downtown.
Yeah.
And it's really in the heart of everything. So it's right across the street from Hotel Congress, which he was talking about, like Club Congress. And they always have things down there, and just nice little walking area. And with school kind of getting back in session, there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of people walking around, which is good. But just the fact that it's kind of like an older room. It's kind of like, not like the Apollo, but, kind of it has that marquee that's in front of it and kind of gives you that kind of feel. So and a lot of great shows have been there. So definitely one of my favorite venues in the state, actually.
This, I think maybe within the last 3-4 months, Andy and I were really starting to do a lot of theaters. And, all theaters kind of have I don't know if historic is the right word, but a vintage kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Which is nice. But I'm trying to make up my mind whether I like theaters or comedy clubs, which one I like more. Because there's such an intimacy to comedy clubs that you don't get in the theater. Right. Even though the theater, as grand as it could be, it certainly makes you feel like you've reached a new level in your career. But you lose the intimacy in a theater that you have in a club, and I like that intimacy of a club.
Yeah, hey, will you still incorporate like crowd work and stuff depending on how you feeling? No, in the club.
Oh, always in the club.
Yeah,
in the theater, it's kind of harder to do.
Right, you're only doing the first 2 rows, if anything.
Exactly,
it's real.
exactly.
Go 10 rows deep. But like you, sir, right?
Yeah.
But when you're doing clubs though, then it's burn and turn, multiple shows a night normally, right?
Yeah.
Do you like that too, though? Because you're kind of getting extra reps in, or if you felt like you were a little off in your like set in the first one, you got to redo or whatever.
Well, I mean, the rebound factor is immediate.
Yeah.
So if I have a bad show on a Friday and there's 2 shows, and the first show is like it didn't really go, you got that second one to bounce your ego back. Whereas at a theater, it's like if you feel like you sucked, then you keep that feeling.
You sit on that for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that eat you up too? If you ever feel like you haven't had like an A+ set?
Listen, I don't want to come off cocky.
Well, you put in so many hours for so many
I don't
years.
really have bad sets.
Of course.
But there are sets that are not to my liking for maybe several different reasons. And I don't want to seem like I'm blaming the crowd, but you do get sucky crowds, so maybe if the crowd wasn't that great, which kind of throws my energy off, and the stars don't quite align the way you want them to,
right?
Not like the set was bad, but it just wasn't a great, fun night.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean too, because like it's your own personal standards, because which with the thousands of shows that you have under your belt, what you expect to get in return from what you're doing. So and then but when you're interacting with people in these crowds, you just never know what you're going to get back, even if you're like this is A+ material, and I know this, and these people be coming straight from like working a double and just drained, and got like their cheating wife on their mind and just not completely into it.
I think when you're doing the club, the thing that's the most annoying for me is when you're talking about the intimacy is great, but when you're at a club versus the theater, I don't have to worry that whatever you ordered wasn't prepared correctly. And then that changes the energy. And if they're right by the stage, it changes the energy for the whole room.
Yes.
That you're not competing with dinner when you do a theater.
Yeah.
But
and that's the business too.
Yeah. But you don't have that same energy at the theater because everybody sits and they're all doing the same thing. So the energy is different. So you there's benefits to both. And I never want to work out something new at a theater. Where at a club, yeah, you could throw some new stuff in there. If you get it, you get it. If you can move on, I think it's easier. Would you agree that it's easier to?
Yeah, because the theater is such, it's showtime.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you're in a big place, high ceilings, big stage. You got to put on a performance.
Right.
Not saying you don't have to put on a performance at a comedy club, but it's more of a laid back atmosphere. It's like people are paying to see you work out in the gym. Whereas at a theater, it's fight night.
Yes, absolutely. It's the main event.
Yeah.
For sure. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We're live here on the podcast broadcast with hilarious comedian Aries Spears and hilarious comedian as well, Andy Steinberg. They co-host the podcast together as well. And that's Spears and Steinberg, which you can find anywhere where you stream audio. And, when you guys put together your podcast weekly, you're doing it on the road.
Yeah.
How do you guys come across what you're going to talk about per podcast? Is it just something that organically comes about where you're just like, man, I just came back from this airport and I got this idea?
A little bit of both. I mean, there are certain things that we and it's funny, when we first started, we wouldn't plan at all. But when you start getting into episode 575,
right,
you got to start making some plans. So there are times when, we'll plan some things out. Hey, man, this new movie just came out, Deadpool Wolverine. Let's go see that and talk about that. Or
you guys had a reaction for that too.
There's a great series on Netflix or Hulu, and then some of it obviously is based on what's happening. Trump did this, or this just went on in the news. So it could be a combination of what we plan and then some of what the current climate is that's in terms of what's going on.
Yeah, and then the feedback that you're getting from your listeners and stuff, are they enjoying and gravitating towards some of the entertainment aspects of the reactions? And,
a lot of people love when we do movies, when we talk about movies. Some of that, and when we have great conversations about comedy, and some of our personal lives and stuff like that. So we're like a buffet of topics, man.
Yeah, of course.
But when we talk movies, though, we don't talk about it. We don't review the movie the same way. We talk about the cinematography or the great director. We talk about how the movie either intertwines with our life, things that we enjoy and like. We'll talk about the movie itself, obviously, too, what was good and what was bad about it.
Yeah.
But we always involve ourselves in the movie and things that have affected us or that we had similarities in. So it's about us, even though it's about the movie as well. And I think that's the personal side that people gravitate to when we do that.
Right. And do you ever see a movie differently with being in movies before? Right? Do you ever watch the movie differently and kind of think about the kind of behind the scenes while you're watching it? Does it take you out of that experience?
No, it doesn't take me out of it because I'm a fan of movies way before I ever were in them.
Yeah.
So, that love that I have for movies is always going to be there. I mean, there might be certain technical things because I know, because I've done it, I know the tricks here and there and what certain things that most people wouldn't know. But that's its own thing. That my love for the movie is front and center,
right?
Before any of that other stuff.
Yeah, and with the amount of travel and hotel time that you spend, I imagine that you during your downtime watching a lot of movies. And television shows.
Yeah.
Which you have to.
Yeah.
With you watched Deadpool and Wolverine. Of course, the Marvel Universe. The big talk this year was that they revealed that they're 86ing the Kang storyline. Right?
Yeah.
And they're moving towards Dr. Doom and then introduced Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Now, is this something that you feel like this is a misstep from Marvel, or are you excited about the Robert Downey Jr. version of Dr. Doom?
My fandom into that whole
universe
goes but so deep,
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because I'm a guy, and we like to say this on our podcast, we call movies man food.
Yeah.
Because it's got all the criteria that make men watch movies. If it's got nudity, explosions, violence, car chases.
Check the boxes, yeah.
Okay, if it checks all the boxes, it's man food.
Yeah.
So because it's a superhero movie, action, it's man food. So I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna catch me at the dressed up at the convention. I'm not gonna become a superhero. That's where it stops for me.
Yeah.
I don't go into geekdom.
Right.
So to answer your question, yeah, man, I'm gonna go see the movie. But I don't know that I'm, man, I'm not gonna get into the deep, whatever details about why it's a good idea, why it's not. According to comic book 700 episodes, 700. I don't care about all that.
So you were too busy having sex growing up. Is that a thing?
Yes. I'm too busy having sex with a girl on top of the comics.
What were you going to say?
Now, on the other hand.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
I do have a little bit more love for comic books than Aries did.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't 16 getting. We're on the regular show.
We're on the radio.
We're on the radio.
Yeah,
I wasn't like Aries being 16 years old, being
seduced.
Seduced. I like the idea of mentored into
relations.
Yeah. Coitus. Can you say coitus on radio?
Yeah, you can say coitus.
Yeah, I wasn't
absolutely.
mentored in the fine arts of coitus.
Right. Yeah.
At 16, as Aries was. So but as I watched with Marvel and was it Paul Feige? I think.
Yes.
His footprint.
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige. Thank you, Kevin Feige. His thumbprint on all this. I think that they really had to think this out. So, and I believe that when he has the vision, like everything that he had a vision for came together with Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think he has a vision for the Doctor Doom. I think it is going to be the what if, kind of the alternate universe, which makes the most amount of sense because that's really how you can intertwine all these stories and make them happen. So if that's the case, then I'm really for it. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust I'm going to trust that his vibe, his feeling of how he wants to put these Marvel movies together and how they're going to all interconnect so that they can continue to build this universe. Because that's the problem. They had to reset the universe.
Yes. And there was that lull, honestly.
So I think this will be the new vision, and I think I trust him to be able to pull that off.
Like, this is what I mean when I say I don't get into the geekdom of it.
Yeah.
Like at first when they revealed Downey as Doom, I went, like, that's weird. Like, we know him as Tony Stark.
Right.
So now I'm supposed to buy him as that seems like that's going to interfere. And then the geeks point out that, in this universe in comic book number, there was a Tony Stark Doom.
Yeah.
And I was just like, see, I don't know that.
I know. And that was the initial problem, them going into the multiverse, was making it so overly complicated. You're just like, this
Can you follow?
Yeah, dude. And it's like, that's a super stretch,
Right.
But yeah, there might be a blueprint and a game plan that's going in there, so we'll see. I mean,
but there's two sides of this. There's the comic book side, the people who are comic book geeks and want to live by what is already out there, the history, and they want that. And then there's Aries, 100%, that comes to this and doesn't know the background, and so give them a great movie, put it together the right way. And I think that's the balance that Marvel had at one time, and they kind of fell apart a little bit. And then we had social ideas that had to be put into these movies that kind of blew up everything.
Yeah, kind of messed that up.
Yeah, I think we're moving back to where the idea, if it lays out like I think it is, it's going to be amazing.
Exactly. Well, everything is cyclical, so they learn the hard way from going to one direction. And inclusive kind of like makes the story kind of diluted. So they kind of push it back. And we're going to talk more with Andy Steinberg and Aries Spears of performing tomorrow night at the Rialto Theater, therialtotheater.com. Get your tickets now before they sell out. More coming up after Red Hot Chili Peppers and Rock 102.1 KFMA. Yeah, do you feel like, we have the PC culture, right? And we've seen this before. I think South Park pointed this out. How, like, in the 80s, we were super PC with, verbiage and whatnot. And then the 90s blew it open and we're just kind of, like, wild, right? And then we kind of, like, reined it back again where, like, there's overly sensitive about, comedy in general. And, we've seen, like, Chappelle kind of talk about these things. But you're kind of like with the resurgence of, say, the Kill Tonys and the Texas comedy that's coming out, they're pushing back hard to be like anti-PC to bring the freedom of speech back in comedy. Are you feeling that as far as like on the road? You kind of from the crowd, they're kind of getting away from, I guess, I don't want to say woke terminology, right? Because I believe it's important to be like sensitive to people, right? And be inclusive to people without saying hate speech. But, you know, like the freedom of not having to tiptoe to make jokes about, you know, just different types of people again.
You know, I think the audience has always been there for it.
Yeah, in comedy clubs, for sure.
Yeah. But because, you know, because of the climate we've been in, they may have been reluctant to want to embrace a comic who's still going there. But if you go there and you're good at going there, they quickly will embrace it. It's like at first they're apprehensive because they're going, wait, the new thing now is we have to be sensitive.
Right.
But if they see that your attitude is, we're on the podcast side, right?
Yeah, we're on the podcast.
If your attitude is fuck that, I'm not that. I'm old school. I'm that guy that don't give a fuck about that.
Right.
It takes them a minute, but once they realize, oh, this is who this dude is, they go, yeah, we'd rather go to this party.
Yeah.
You know, dude, I saw something yesterday with Kill Tony, and I gotta say, man, when he does these things, the roasts, and you know he'll roast whoever the guy is on the stage, and he'll have a panel of comedians with him roasting other people, and I don't know the guy's name, I've seen him before, but they had some dude up, and I hate to use this word because it seems mean, but fucking it is what it is. It's the truth.
Yeah,
this dude, you could tell he was a loser.
Yeah,
like he had like Dr. Phil balding. He was skinny. He was nerdy.
Yeah.
He just looked like he didn't get no pussy.
Right.
Like he just couldn't buy some pussy if he wanted to. And at one point, one of the comedians says to him, in terms of feet, how far do you have to stay away from kids?
Yeah.
And the way they were roasting this dude, and you could see it on his face. One person wrote in the comments, you could literally see in this dude's face where he realizes he should take his own life.
Yeah.
And I know this is coming off serious, but you guys see the clip.
No, I know.
When you see the clip, it was so, the way they were roasting this dude was just beyond hilarious, man.
Right.
And that's that hardcore comedy, man. That's what comedy, you know, once upon a time ago was. And the more you feel like you shouldn't laugh at it, the more you feel like you're doing something naughty, the better it feels.
Right, yeah. And it's been blowing up. And honestly, like, don't be surprised if we don't see Kill Tony on Netflix as like a live streaming event.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, you know,
it's a question of time.
Yeah. I think they're working on it.
They are working on something.
Absolutely, you know. But you see, it's so weird too because there is some sort of like false bravado that some people get. Somehow they have a disconnect of being able to be like, yeah, I could do that, right? And stand-up comedy. And sure, I'll just go up in front of a million people and try stand-up comedy for the first time. And no one in their reasonable mind would consider doing this. But, you know, you've seen this too. You've hosted shows. You've seen terrible comedians.
Right.
You know?
You know, as what you're saying though right now, we were in Austin not too long ago.
Yeah.
And you know, because, and I'm not blaming Joe Rogan. You know, Joe Rogan does what he does, and he does it great.
Yeah.
But he also has an appeal to a certain male audience.
Right.
And a lot of these dudes come out because they see him, and they have never done comedy before. They moved to Austin to do comedy for the very first time.
Ballsy and dumb. Yeah.
Ballsy and dumb. So when you say no one in their right mind, it's kind of this idea like you can do this. All you have to do, and you know, people say things like all you got to do is be honest, and you're going to be funny. It's more than that.
Yeah,
and so that's what's happening a lot of.
The guy's name was Mark Norman.
Oh, Mark Norman was the comedian who was roasting him.
Yeah.
Mark is so.
He said, God, I wish I could find
Mark's
this clip
genius,
so you could
dude.
play it.
Yeah,
but he said to the guy, in terms of feet, how far away do you have to stay away from a school?
In terms of feet, how far away do you have to stay from? I love Mark. Mark is he's a genius comedian, man. And you know what? That's the thing is like the guys that weren't A-list comics. that I got to work with, and they were like, they were just starting to headline, or they were, still openers. I got to meet all these guys at that time, so I know like who they are before. You lose some of that insecurity once you move up.
Yeah.
And so I see these guys, and I love them. I love watching that how they've developed. And Mark is one of those guys, man.
Yeah, because you were a staple at Tempe Improv for years, right?
Stand Up Live.
Oh, Stand Up Live.
Tempe Improv. I later, but for a short period of time, I was getting ready to to skedaddle.
Yeah, but I just remember you as always kind of be one of like the most prominent and most known local comedians in the Phoenix scene. I know. That's you're a humble man, but no, like your reputation preceded you. Like when we talked about local comedians in Phoenix, your name would come up a lot, always, right?
Yeah.
So you worked with a lot of these comedians that you're seeing, and this Austin scene is, from Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe, has been blowing up.
Yeah,
and
it should.
And it's good for comedy too, because it is putting a lot of people's names out there and kind of in the zeitgeist, right?
It is good for comedy, but on the other hand, that other side of it is you're going to have a lot of people that are going to they're obviously when. You want to do the best to get as many people up on shows.
Yeah.
So when you go to shows, not the big shows, not the name brand, not like the Mothership, not his room. But in some of the other rooms, you're going to have comics that don't really have that experience, and they want to get people up, so they're taking spots away from people that are really working at this.
Yeah.
Not pretending or not imagining.
Right.
They're really working at it.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That can be frustrating for some of the guys that are out there. But it's a fair system. There's a lot of clubs out there. I see it being a benefit in the end.
Yeah.
It's just, as this happens, it happens. That's the way it goes. In any scene, no matter how big or how small it is, and I think everybody should try to do comedy once.
Yeah.
I think you should be a server for a day, and I think you should try to do comedy for a day.
Yeah. I did. I attempted it for opening for Adam Carolla. This is 2012, whatever. They reached out to me, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, Beef, can you host the Adam Carolla's, when he does the Tempe Improv? And I'm like, host? Okay, well, I've been working with the Improv for a couple of years, so that means do a couple of minutes and bring on the fucking, the next comedian, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. All right, this will be a good opportunity to bucket list and attempt stand-up for the first time in front of 600 people. What can go wrong? It was one of those kind of just like fearless. I know I'm an idiot for attempting this, but I'm going to attempt it. So I'm ready. I fucking tell my uncle, he flies in from San Francisco to see a show. Like, my fucking dad was dying at the time. He's still alive. But he was going to come out for the show, and I'm like, okay, I'm work on some, like, a couple minutes to do some stand-up for this sold-out crowd at the Improv. Now, word got out that I was going to do this, because that was the impression at first. And, Adam's manager pulled me aside, and he's like, yeah, I heard you're going to do some stand-up. Don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I won't. And I'm like, well, in my mind, I'm like, I already planned on it, so I got to do it now, right? So I went up, fucking bombed, went into a dick pic story, right? Didn't know anything, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm going into a story that is probably going on 10 minutes long. Red lights blinking at me like I'm at a rave. I don't know what that means, right? Literally, Jimmy Kimmel's like, grandmother's in the audience, fucking crickets, going there like nonstop. I'm fucking like dying. Couldn't get off stage fast enough. But it was like 10 minutes later, I get Adam on there, and he like thanks me for that. He gets a pop off of that. Immediately get reamed by the GM Eddie at the time in the lobby, right? Like fucking handed to me, and then had the Come to Jesus talk with Adam, and then did it again the next set. But the next set I actually learned and went a little quicker, and then got some laughs and pops. And I end up doing, we're back on the air, Rock 102.1 KFMA. I end up doing 8 shows in total, right? Attempted to do stand-up 8 of the times. Didn't bomb 4 of those times, right? But that was enough to know, for me personally, the art of stand-up comedy is reps, it's rhythm, it's writing, and it's about getting that time in. And so any J.O. Jerk guy thinks is funny, can't necessarily just grab the mic and just start killing, right? So that was my story. We're back on here, yeah. And I would never do that again. Look, I know as I'm saying this, Aries, I know, considering that you've been a headliner for like 25 years or more, right, or whatever, you're thinking to yourself, the audacity, the nerve of this idiot, right? Like, this would infuriate you if you had somebody try to do the same thing, right?
No, not the attempt.
Yeah,
because you knew, like he said, everybody should attempt it.
Yeah.
But if it ain't for you, get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's dudes who shouldn't be doing it that are still in it.
Right.
Get out. You're making it harder for the rest of us to get into Studio 54. I mean, you're holding up the line. Get out.
Right.
So I wouldn't slight anybody for attempting it.
Yeah, but there's a right and wrong way to approach the craft if you're trying to get into being a professional comedian, right?
I don't know about right or wrong way, because you don't know until you do it.
Yeah, and your route's a little different. Even though there's similarities in other like notorious comedians like Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, where Dave Chappelle started off at an early age. You knew since you were even before in adolescence that you wanted to do this. You had that gift, and then to get that opportunity and get those reps ahead of time. Some people don't start doing stand up until they're 30.
Yeah,
yeah. So but ahead of time, like. You're finding mics to be able to do that and then get your reps in before, you're even legally allowed to drink. So.
Yeah. My route was early, and, the more stage time you get, obviously, the better you get at it.
Right.
As you learn as you go, and you develop who you are as a voice. So the more stage time, the better.
Yeah, and then to find your authentic self. Andy, how long did you feel like it took you to be funny on stage consistently as a stand-up comedian?
I'm still working at it.
Yeah.
My path is completely different from Aries. I really didn't get serious about doing comedy. I did it once. I did it for about 6 months when I was in my 37, but I didn't start really doing comedy until I was 42.
There you go. Yeah.
And so what the difference is though, when you're 40, when you're older, you have more life experience. You have different things that you can talk about. So I think you can find your voice sooner, but that doesn't mean that your skill level's up. I mean, you don't have a left hand. I mean, you can go right, but you can't go left. You know what I mean? You just can't do it that way. So it still takes it still takes time to develop that stage presence. But my voice I knew what I wanted to say, but my voice wasn't good enough to say it yet.
Yeah.
So that took a while, but I think that happens a little easier. So when you say like people knew me, or knew of me.
Yeah.
It was because I was talking about different things that were more relatable to me and then that were more authentic.
Right.
But it wasn't that I was a good comedian. I didn't think I was a good comedian. I thought I got better while I was in Phoenix, especially at the end, but I don't think that I ever thought I was a good comedian. I still don't think I'm a good comedian, to be really honest with you.
Well, I guess that's always going to be
White
one
comics
of our things.
love that self-deprecation.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's so crazy.
Aries Spears, are you a good comedian?
I'm a genius.
Yes, right. That's right.
Yeah, but he's 32 years in. But I think 2 years in, he would have said the same thing, though.
Yes,
no, I would never have
genius
said the
from day
same
one.
thing. What are you talking about? The genius part?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I joked with Andy one time because it really is a thing where it's like you don't ever see black comics, particularly black men, being self-deprecating.
Right.
We come with swagger. We come with confidence.
Dude,
brothers in Detroit wear purple suits. You know what I mean? And orange gaiters. You got to be a confident motherfucker to pull off some orange leather shoes. So and you can't tell us we don't look good.
Yeah.
We don't do self-deprecation.
No, and it's so funny because coming up in the scene in Phoenix, there is a group of black comics that came up along the same time, and they were newer at it, But you couldn't tell them that they weren't the best comic that night.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care how horribly they did. They killed it. They killed it.
Yeah.
And so it is a difference. Culturally it's different. But I would see those dudes, and I didn't care if they killed it or not. I just wanted to have some of that. I wanted to be able to feel good after I left the stage. And every time I saw these black comics you go up and just get some laughs, and they came out and they. And I was like, man, I want that. I want a little. I think in order to be in this business and entertainment whatsoever, you have to have a little bit of delusion.
Yes.
But black comics can take that up to another level.
Yeah, we the shit, man.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. I forgot we on the.
That's all right. There's a dump. And,
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, we ran out of time. But I do want to thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with these. This 3-week run has been fantastic,
Thank you,
Aries.
sir. Thank
Very
you.
excited about the show tomorrow night at Rialto Theater. Andy Steinberg, thank you for
Paulie
coming home.
Casillas, I wanted to say, is going to be on the show, too.
Oh, yeah. Shout out
we
Paulie.
had him, local dude. We wanted to get him on the show. Somebody I came up with in comedy that I love and respect. And so Paulie's coming out. He's going to open up the show. I just want to get that out there because I really appreciate Paulie.
It's going to be a fantastic night of comedy that you can be a part of. Go to VialtoTheater.com today. Get your tickets. Show is tomorrow night, and it's going to be a great one. Our Aries Spears, Andy Steinberg, thank you guys so much yet again.
And again, check out our podcast called Spears and Steinberg, available on all streaming platforms. Our YouTube channel, Spearsberg Pod. Hit like and subscribe. Slide into my DMs on Instagram. I'll send you the links. I'll chop it up with you. We're about close to 600 episodes.
Yeah.
I tell people, listen how you want, but at the same time, my recommendation is to start from the beginning and go in order, binge it. You could see the evolution of who we are as personalities, the growth, the impressions, the characters, the callbacks. It'll all make sense to you. It's like masturbation and potato chips. Once you start, you can't stop. So just binge the cocaine, baby. It's worth it.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you out there Saturday night. Drive safe, ride safe, and as always, rock local. Later.
Wish upon a side of beef.
Excellent. Thank you again, guys.
Will come
There's that dump button. They're like,
and do
where's
all
that
your
dump button?
grief.
Got it.
But if you've been mean or kind of bad,
Babuski.
I will knock out all your teeth.